Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Congratulations on being halfway through the course and completing the midterm. I have graded all the ones that I have gotten to. It's about Sunday afternoon, so I will get to yours as soon as I can if you are still working. But I have been so impressed with your detailed short answer responses and just your overall knowledge that you're able to demonstrate through that. So hopefully you feel proud of what you've learned and what you've accomplished so far. Since some people are still waiting for feedback from me, you can, if I have graded it, you can go in, and if I've left a comment, you'll be able to see that for any of your questions that I had feedback on. And then in next week's announcements, I'm going to do class-wide feedback for any questions that I wanted to go over as a class. So look for that coming up next week. But again, really great job on the midterm. So today in our announcements, I'm going to go over a course schedule recap for you just to let you know what is coming up for the rest of the semester. I'm going to go more in depth about our research proposal assignment, show you the template, and what is expected for our next check-in. Briefly talk about the article critique. We'll mostly focus on that next week to when you're going to be working on that, and then leave you with your checklist. Okay, so we are done with the midterm. So here is what we have left. So we are in our third module about research design. So we are going to, this week, we are going to be finishing up quantitative design. We're going to just be reading one chapter. We're going to be reading chapter 14 of the text about non-experimental research. And that's what the perusal is about. So a little bit of a lighter read, but the focus is going to be on getting started with your research proposal for the next check-in. So that is what we're going to be doing this week. This is, again, an ungraded check-in that you're going to be working on, so I can give you feedback. That way, when we get to the end of the course, you're confident that you are on the right track. Now, next week, we are going to be wrapping up quantitative design by studying quantitative analysis. So during that week, you will also complete your article critique. That is over a quantitative article. So that will all build upon itself, and we will wrap that up. And then we have Georgia State spring break there. Now, after we get back from Georgia State spring break, we will dive into Module 4, which is continuing on with the selecting research method and data analysis, but instead of focusing on quantitative design, we're going to focus on qualitative and mixed methods design. So we will have a week on the qualitative designs that the authors of our text have already talked a little bit about. Then we will read in depth about mixed methods design, and then we will wrap up that module with analysis for qualitative research and mixed methods analysis. And this is when you will do your second article critique over a qualitative article. So it's moving fast, but you do have spring break in there, so you can see how that will break down and build on itself. Oh, we also have our last ungraded check-in here, where you will talk about your research analysis that you will be reading about there. And then our final 3 weeks of the course are focused on writing your research reports and your research proposal. That will be due, and the textbook chapter goes with that, how to write that up. And then the next week will be videos of you sharing your research and talking about your research, and then the final exam. So that is what we have left to do. We have chapters 14 through chapter 21 left of the text. So you've read the bulk of it. So we have about 7 or 8 more chapters left to go. And focusing more in on specific research designs and analysis techniques. So that's what you can look forward to for the rest of the semester. And the final exam will be over only the new reading that we do. So you can focus your attention there. But of course, everything that we have read about so far and studied will be great for your article critiques and your research proposal assignments. So you can use those to reference as you work. Okay, so let's talk about our research proposal. So we have this week is, again, you're just reading one chapter out of the text, chapter 14, because I wanted to give you time to really get started with your research proposal assignment. So everyone has already turned in their research question, their preliminary research question. And so now we are going to be downloading the template and getting started with writing out a little bit more. So this is going to be due this week, March 5th, for feedback. It's ungraded, but I'll be able to give you suggestions, any corrections that I have to point you in the right direction. So here you are going to have your final research issue. It might be the same, it might be slightly altered, and your final research question. I think that was supposed to be an S, but it's a 2. So your final research question or questions. So again, you use the feedback that I gave you during the first check-in to make any edits or revisions to that. And then your potential design. Now, many of you had already started thinking about your research design in the first check-in. So here you are going to be talking about that as well. Are you proposing a quantitative design, a qualitative design, or mixed methods design? And then also, what are you proposing for your data collection? These are things that were covered on the midterm about the 6 different methods of data collection that we studied. So which of those would you use to carry out the design that you are doing? And then lastly, your 3 potential references that you can use for your literature review. So today I am going to show you how to find the template, show you the sample, and then also how to search in Georgia State databases to find references and articles that you can use for your research proposal. Okay, so let me show you the research proposal. So when you go to iCollege, you can access the research proposal assignment under the Assessments tab. You'll click on Assignments. So once you click on Assignments, you will see, you can see the first check-in that we did. Here is our second check-in, and then the third check-in. And I'll have a link for you here. So when you click on the second check-in, research proposal check-in 2, when you look at the assignment, you will see the template that you will be using for the research proposal, and then also a sample. Now, this is a finished sample, but if you are curious about what one might look like, this is a sample that I wrote for you to see an example. So you will click on the template. Now, the template does download to Microsoft Word, so you can have that. Now, I suggest that you download the template now and you add on just the parts that we are looking for, and then continue building on that. And then this document will be your final research paper that you turn in. So go ahead and download the template here and you can write. Now, just for ease, I do have the template. Do I have the template? So I have the template here in Google Doc just so I can share my screen easier. But so this is what the research template will look like. So anything in brackets, that is where you fill in. So here is where you'll put your paper title. If you know it, a working title, you can put that in for this check-in. Of course, your name, and then the date. The date will, of course, be changing based on if it's check-in number 2, 3, or the final. So here in the template, I've gone ahead and put in the headings for you. Now, these headings are similar to the headings that you read about in chapter 4, about in chapter 5, chapter 4 and 5 about writing research proposals, the different parts of a research proposal. And they are also going along with the rubric that I'll be using to grade your final paper. So you have the introduction is the first section, the method is the second section, and then data analysis, and finally references. So this is an APA style that we'll be reading about towards the end of the course, but it's already here formatted for you. So in the introduction, there are 3 components. There's the research issue, the research questions, the statement of purpose, and the research significance or the hypothesis. Now, for this check-in, I've highlighted the portions that I want you to do for this check-in. So for this check-in, we are doing your final research issue, your final research question, and then your proposed research design. And you can also talk about your data collection procedures if you think that you already know that. And then your 3 to 5 references that you think that you are going to do. So under each section heading, I've given you a description of what you need to put there. So the research issue will be 2 to 3 paragraphs where you introduce your research topic and the issue that your proposed study addresses. The questions, so I put what the question should look like if it's a quantitative study, what it should look like if it's a qualitative study, and then what it should look like if it is a mixed method study. Now, I also put what chapter in the text you can look to help you as you are crafting each portion. The statement of purpose, that's not required for this check-in, but if you want to, you can talk about the research's intent or the objectives. And then the significance or hypothesis. So this is important based on your research design. If it's quantitative, you're going to make sure you identify your variables and your hypotheses. If it's qualitative, talk about your expected outcomes and the potential significance. And then mixed methods, you will do both. Now, in the method section here, 1 paragraph, the overall design that's being proposed as a quantitative design, qualitative design, or mixed methods, and then talk about why that design is appropriate. So here you can see chapters 2 and chapters 8 to help you talk about the purpose of that design and how that will help you answer your research question. So this section, we will get more in depth as we finish reading the next few chapters in the text. Research setting here, you are going to talk about where this research will take place. If it's a school, you can describe the characteristics of a school. If it is in a corporate setting, you can describe the characteristics of the setting. Now, again, this is a proposal, so this is your ideal research setting. So you would talk about in the future tense where it would take place. That's another important detail about your research proposal. Make sure it's future tense because you are proposing this. This is not something that you are doing. You have to first propose it and get it approved before you can carry it out. Participants, if you are ready, you can start here as well. So you'll talk about who the potential participants would be, who you would hope to enroll in the study, how you would sample them. That goes off what we talked about in the midterm, what the criteria will be, your informed consent procedures that you will do to make sure that you are being ethical. Instruments and data sources, and then data collection procedures. So this will be much more in depth for the final proposal. But if you think you already know your data collection procedures, you can put those here, like interviews, surveys, questionnaires, tests, observation, that will go here. And then we will get to this section in the next few weeks, and then your references. So let me show you how you can build this out. And if this is redundant for you, just go ahead and fast forward through this part. Okay, so for your first check-in, we talked about your research topic, the research purpose, and your potential research questions. This was the proposal exercise from the text to talk about your topic, the research problem that you're trying to address, the purpose of your study, and your question. So I'm going to go over to the sample to show you what this looks like in the final proposal. So mine is about the Beltline and the taxes that are used to fund the Beltline. So it is a proposal about how to research how the policy came to be through getting the perspectives of the policy members who are involved. So here you can see I have 2 paragraphs talking about the research issue. So this introduction, you introduce the research topic and the issue that it is going to address. So this goes with the research problem that you're interested in, that you started talking about, or your research topic. So here you can see I have a couple of paragraphs giving background about the Beltline and the taxes that are used to pay for it. And then here you can see I talk a little bit about the aims of the research problem that I'm hoping to do. And what I'm like, the purpose is I want to understand. As you can see, it is future tense. Now, we don't need to do summary of prior literature for this check-in, so that is there for you to see, but you will be skipping that for this. Remember, you're just doing the highlighted portions: research issue, research questions, method, and then your references. So for research questions, you can see I have 2 here. These are my final research questions. So it does matter based on your design, because if it is a quantitative study, your research questions should make clear what your variables are. So look back to your first check-in and any feedback that you got there. Now, research purpose, you might be ready to write this, especially if you did talk about that in your first check-in. So you can copy, wrong paper. You can copy and paste that here into the purpose. So your purpose might be to describe, to predict, to understand. So you can write that here. And if you are ready to do your research significance, you can talk about that. What would the potential significance be? And if you are doing quantitative, what are your hypotheses? And then the next section that you are going to do is your method. And like I mentioned, many of you have already done this when you did your first check-in, but that will go here, the overall design that you are proposing. So you can see here for mine, I say it's interpretive. We'll use qualitative methodology, including archival research and interviews. So here you can see the method and then also the data sources. And then I gave a little bit of background about what qualitative research is. So you can tie in everything that you've learned in the course. Qualitative research examines problems by collecting in-depth information and using coding to interpret the data. And I did cite our text here. In this study, I want to examine the issues of tax allocation districts by studying the Atlantic Beltline negotiations. A qualitative method will help me understand the genesis of this policy impacting education. So here you can see I wrote a paragraph about the design, and I did say what the data collection sources will be, even though you can go more into depth in this section here for the procedures. But I did mention it here and then talked about why that design is appropriate. So it's important to talk about why this design is appropriate to help you address the research questions that you stated. So that's research issue, research question, method, and then the last thing that you need to include is your potential references. So these are scholarly empirical studies that are related to your topic that you will read, and eventually for your final paper, you will include in the summary of prior literature section in your introduction. So the end goal for that is to write 3 to 4 paragraphs where you are discussing findings from related research studies about your topic. So for this check-in, you need to find the related studies. That way I can approve them. And if they're approved, then you can go ahead and read them and discuss and summarize the findings from that research. So I want to talk to you about how you will find articles for your research proposal. So you are going to be going to, you can use Google Scholar, but when you use Google Scholar, I recommend that you first log in through Georgia State's database like this. That way it will give you articles that you have access to through Georgia State. So with your Georgia State fees, your library fees that you pay every semester, that's one of the highest fees that you pay. That gets you access to many peer-reviewed journals and databases to help you find scholarly, empirical, peer-reviewed research articles. So if you first log in to the Georgia State Library, at least on my browser, then if I'm in Google Scholar, I will see a button that says find at GSU. And so you can use both because sometimes if people just use Google Scholar without being logged in through Georgia State, it really limits the articles that they can find. So these are the steps that I want you to take to find those articles, especially initially. So the first thing that you're going to do is go to the Georgia State Library and then find the databases. So here I am, just it's a simple website to remember, library.gsu.edu. So this is the library homepage. Now you can search here, of course, but even more efficient is to go down to the databases. So once you scroll down past this bar, you can see databases by subject. Of course, we're in education. Now there's a few options for education. So for mine, since mine was policy studies, I would do here, but you could do early childhood education or just general education. Or if you are on more the quantitative side, or those of you doing special education, educational psychology, and special education. So you choose a database and it gives you some options. So there's a lot of different databases that you can choose. These are the best bets. So Psych Info, if you are doing special education or psychology, I like to do ERIC. So once you click that link, it will take you here and have you log on. And so once you are here, I guess I'm already logged in, but it might give you a prompt to log in. And then you'll use, of course, your Duo to get in with your phone and everything. So once you are here, you can type in your keywords to help you search. So since mine was about the Atlanta Beltline, I might do Atlanta Beltline and then tax allocation district. So those are some keywords. So that can be one of the hardest things about finding relevant articles is identifying the keywords. So sometimes you know what you want to write about, but you're not sure what other scholars in the field call it. So you might have to try a few things or reach out to me and I can give you some tips and some suggestions on keywords to use. Atlanta Beltline tax. Okay, so I got no options here. Probably because this is misspelled. Okay, so let's try. Okay, let me see what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so Eric wasn't giving me the studies that I was looking for, so I decided to try a different database. So now I'm doing the academic search complete. So owned by the same company, but it's going to give you different results. So now I'm going to type in Atlanta Beltline taxes, or maybe just tax. So once you do that, you can see that I now have 27 results. So I have more to look through. So since my study is about the taxes and about gentrification and the educational funding, I'm going to look through here to see if I see anything that is related that could help me craft my proposal to help explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this one is talking about partnerships. So that might work because I'm talking to policymakers, also newspaper articles. So you can always save an article if you want to, or you can take a look. This one has the PDF right here, so I could look. Of course, when you're looking at articles, it can be really helpful to look at the abstract to get an idea. So this doesn't look like a research study to me, so I don't think that this would work, but it does look like an interesting article. So I'm going to go back to the results list. That one's not going to work. So a study of the Atlanta Beltline. Okay, so this one is talking about democratic decision making. So maybe this does have stuff to do with how the taxes and that policy was negotiated. So clicking here. Okay, so of course the abstract will really help you see if it might be a good related article. So a related article, of course, it's not going to be the same exact topic because you're proposing something unique, but something related to what you're doing that will help deepen your understanding and anyone who reads it understanding. Democratic decision making, okay. Okay, so examining the planning process of the Atlanta Beltline using qualitative research methods, this paper analyzes the Beltline's community engagement effort. So I think that this would be a related article for me because I'm going to be interviewing, or I want to interview policymakers. But it might be good to, before I do that, to read this about and see what the community's background was. So I'm proposing a qualitative study about policymakers' perceptions about the Beltline. And this is a related study because it used qualitative methods to understand neighbors' attitudes about the Beltline. So I think that this would be a great article to use. So of course, you can save it, you can download the PDF, but Georgia State and a lot of the databases, they have tools to help you get the APA citation. So for your research proposal, you have your reference page, and we're going to be reading towards the end of the semester about how to format it, but I'm going to show you how to do that now. So when you click the Cite button, sometimes it gives you the option to copy and paste, and Google Scholar does a great job of that. But so I don't see that here, but if you go back to your database and you click on the article here, you see over here a menu, you can see cite, and then you can just copy and paste. So we are doing APA citation style, so you can copy and paste the citation, copy, and then go to your research proposal. It will be alphabetical order. You can paste that there and then fix the formatting to match. So that is how you can find those APA citations. So now that I'm logged in to the Georgia State database, you can use Google Scholar and it will give you the option to Atlanta Beltline Tax Allocation District. Okay, so here you can see, oh, that's my dissertation. You can see different articles, and then it will give you a link to help you find it. So sustainable home. So this is one that I think that I did include in my research proposal. Yes. So now that you have it, you can click the PDF here, and it will, since you're already logged into Georgia State, it has that up for you. Now I'm on Chrome right now. On Safari, it gives you a button that says Find at Georgia State, but those are some options to help you find those articles. So I'm so sorry about the length of this tutorial, but just to recap, so when you are working on your check-in number 2, you can, when you go to the assignment, you will see here the template and then a sample if you want to see that. And for this check-in, we are doing your research issue, your final research question, and then your method and your 3 to 5 references. So that was an overview about how to do it, where to find it, and then also how to access the databases to find relevant articles for your research proposal. So that is coming up this week. That will be the focus for this week that you can do there. And then upcoming, we do have our article critique assignment that is linked in the announcements if you want to take a look. And then next week, I'm going to go into depth, again, showing you a sample of your article critique and how to do it, and then how it is going to be graded. So the focus for this week, we have one chapter, chapter 14, which is about non-experimental design. You have your perusal about that, and then you are going to be submitting your research proposal check-in number 2. So upcoming, then the next week is our article critique, and then we do have an optional Zoom discussion this week. So again, great job on the midterm, and I hope you have a great week, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.